Hello traders, Cousin Benny coming to you from theclosingprint.com on May the 17th. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the indices, all of which moved a bit higher on Thursday and Friday after dipping early in the week. We're waiting for institutions to show us open interest for next week and June options so that we have some sort of direction going into the summer months. Most of the tech stocks were mixed, with Amazon, Netflix, and Nvidia higher. Bond stock ratio is neutral. The Dow Composite faded a little bit. It's below its 21-day but above the 50-day. The S&P 500 is back to neutral, and the XII is range-bound at the 200-day moving average. Tick and Tick Q turned higher on Thursday into Friday. Pretty strong action to finish off the week, with breadth improving somewhat. NIMO and NAMO did peak. They are at neutral, with breadth thrusts improving. NYAD is in the red zone, so that's telling us to be somewhat cautious. Put call is starting to drop. That's a good sign. We want to see more calls being bought to help improve gamma, which will help us with a trending market. US dollar is in the top of its 6-week range. US dollar yen is in a tight range as well, and the British pound US dollar began fading over the last couple of weeks below the 21-day moving average. That's one of the reasons why the London Stock Exchange and the FTSE were higher last week. Gold looks like it could be breaking higher. The monthly looks really strong. Copper is rising. It did dip a little bit on Friday. We want to see that moving higher for the construction group as well as home builders. And we saw West Texas crude moving higher for the last 4 weeks, up over 350% in those 4 weeks from the absolute low. The heat map is fading somewhat, a little bit more oranges, yellows, and lime greens. Strength in home builders, media, oil and gas names, and technology. The heat map for the international is starting to see more red, with strength in South American countries, Russia, and India. We'll look at these IBD 50 names. I would remark that most of these stocks are showing a lot of strength, and we see a lot of names in the MarketSmith Growth 250 and the top buying percent gainers all showing very bullish patterns going into this week. So that is a plus for the bulls. Bukowski's showing 405 red with a CPI signal red since April the 30th at 63.2%, which is neutral, with 7 bearish patterns, 12 bullish patterns, and 209 patterns waiting for breakout. The spiders did manage to close back above the 9 and 21-day moving averages, closing at 286.28. This is good. This will keep us on the neutral to bullish side if we can see some follow through on Monday and Tuesday, with RSI remaining above 50 and rising, with MACD trailing off a bit. This is a lagging indicator, so as price action continues higher, if that's what institutions choose to do this week, we can see MACD also rising along with the 9 and 21-day moving averages. We had a nice reversal at the 236 Fibonacci level from the March 23 lows up to the recent highs. At the 275 level, the 50-day moving average was almost touched on Thursday before we reversed. Very bullish action, buying up shares at a discount, watching for price action to follow through on Friday. The Nasdaq, as noted during the week, was much stronger than the S&P 500 and the spiders. Continues to remain above the 21-day moving average since moving above it back in the second week of April. It did come back and touch the 21-day on Thursday, reversed, and continued to move higher above the 9 EMA, trying to get above this large volume by price band. If we do manage to get above this level, we have support just above this 93.54 zone going into the summer months. RSI continues to move above 50, volume has been increasing, and MACD is above its signal line and flat at the present time. Stochastics has turned up as of Thursday and Friday. Considering small caps for a moment, however, the 9 and 21 days still remain overhead. We did get a reversal on Thursday like the other indices, so we're looking for RSI to continue to move higher, for price to move above 126, 127, continue to rally up to the 200-day if small caps get bought up. A lot of small cap oil and gas, biotech, and technology stocks would follow through. So many of those $5 and $10 stocks that are listed on the Russell 2000 should continue higher this week if we do see a strong start to June. Remember, technology's strongest month of the year is July. Looking at the New York Stock Exchange in the lower panel, we did make a higher low. NYAD advanced decline is still in the red zone, so we'd like to see this surface into the white area, signifying improving breadth, while additional breadth indicators looking a bit better with the S&P 1500, S&P 500 large caps in the top panel, mid caps, small caps, and the Nasdaq in the lower panel moving higher from below zero in most cases, except for the Nasdaq, which dipped briefly below zero and then popped back up into the last 2 weeks of May. VIX will also be starting off the week with a green signal, so we're looking for higher highs and higher lows. Continuing its fade on the daily, lower highs and lower lows, looking for more normal VIX levels and volatility going into the summer months. If this continues to move lower, that would help support a more positive gamma status going into those seasonally weaker months of the year, and something to look forward to, as positive gamma would tell us to look for support and a trending market. A drop below 280, 2800 on the S&P 500 would flip gamma to negative, and something that we don't want to see this week. So to reiterate, we need to stay above 2800 this week. The bond stock ratio had dipped quite a bit since the March 23 lows. This has continued to move lower. That's bullish for equities when this drops. It's somewhat neutral at this point in time as it jockeys around for the last few weeks in this area, with the 20-year or the longer duration bonds consolidating for the last 6 weeks pretty much in a tight range, while the Barclays Aggregate Bond Fund shows us a very similar range-bound situation as well. We can also see that in the shorter end of the curve, the 1 and 3 year Treasury bond ETF has been moving sideways since March, while the 7 and 10 year shows the same price action. So we have no edge in bonds, long or short at this point, while at the same time, junk bonds and high yield corporate debt continue to trade along this tight range along the volume by price band, resistance or support. If we can push above this level, this would be support. If we drop below it, that would be resistance and would be a sell signal of sorts, as this is a risk on indicator, as is the HYG high yield corporate bond ETF, which reflects a very similar range bound situation at the present time. So if you're bullish, you want to see junk and high yield corporate debt continue to move higher back towards the 65 period moving average on this weekly time frame. Currencies are also pretty tight in their ranges, with the US dollar for the last 8 weeks sideways at the top of its range in a small tightening pattern. With the dollar in its current sideways range, gold has had a chance to continue higher, pushing off of this pullback to breakout zone where consolidation was the pattern over the last 5 weeks. We're finally breaking out. The monthly looks good as well. Note RSI is above 50 and rising, volumes picking up, and MACD's crossing. So for you gold traders this week, we should see a follow through in some of those names, with the monthly showing a nice saucer shape or cup pattern 1045 up to 1900. So we've got about an 8 to 900 point measured move. Safely 7 to 800 points on top of this level. So we could see 2500, maybe 3000 if this pattern does break out and follow through. We are overbought, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a handle form right around 1700. And while gold is consolidating, we see that West Texas crude off of the lows 4 weeks ago at 650 is up over 350% in 4 weeks' time. So we're looking for resistance at 382 and the moving averages overhead. Short term, if it gets through this level, 42 is the first pivot zone, right around the 50% retracement. This would be bullish for equities if crude continues to firm and follow through. Sectors have also faded somewhat. We're seeing more lime greens and a few oranges. Strength in media, retail, leisure, and entertainment. We did see oil and gas equipment, exploration and production stocks all doing well. In addition to many of the technology sectors, internet, semiconductors, and telecom doing well. International markets, the South American countries, Russia, and India fared the best. We're seeing a few more yellows and oranges show up as well. Sectors also look strong with the exception of real estate, transports, and utilities. We do see some relative strength. We started to bounce a little bit, XLF and XLI, financials and industrials. The rest of them look good at the 20-day or above and following through. So I would focus on materials, communications, technology, and consumer discretionary. They look the best going into this week, in addition to healthcare. Here is the IBD 50. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention right off the bat that many of these stocks look very strong. Look at how Adobe reversed on Thursday, right at the 21-day moving average. RSI is above 50, MACD is above the signal line, volume increasing. Follow through day on Friday. Look for a continuation and a follow through, a takeout of 373.63. If we see persistent strength this week in Adobe, as well as advanced micro devices, AMD, with additional stocks like American Tower, a REIT, obviously cell towers, etc. Properties. This one is bouncing, finding buyers at the 200-day moving average. Look for a wave up. The healthcare sector was strong, so we're looking for stocks like NTM to continue higher. Follow through Thursday and Friday, looking for a breakout above this zone. It gets through 285, 286. This could see 52-week highs very quickly. Volumes increasing, MACD's turning, and RSI's above 50. Audio codes, this one's been on the watch list from time to time over the last month or so. Looking for a follow through. We're at the 21-day. We got a reversal candle looking for a bounce. Volume increasing, RSI is above 50. Technology sector has been very strong. Autodesk showing strength, bouncing on Thursday back above the 21-day both days. RSI is above 50. Volumes increasing. MACD is turning as a function of price. Look for follow through in Autodesk this week. Both Box and Dropbox showed very similar patterns and moved back to the 21-day follow through on Friday, while Dropbox speedier price action off the 21-day still bounced, looking for a takeout of recent highs, something of a cup and handle pattern. RSI rising, volume increasing, and MACD's above its signal line and pointing higher. Bristol Myers Squibb trading post earnings, looking for this to follow through along with the strength that we saw in Eli Lilly, AstraZeneca, Merck, Johnson & Johnson, and Pfizer. We're looking for these to continue trending along their bullish 9 and 21-day moving average with RSI rising, MACD above its signal line, and tremendous volume on Friday in BMY as a precursor to potential follow-through. Chegg post earnings, 2 weeks in a row, just continues to trend higher. I'm still looking for like a little pullback. That would be a good entry if we find buyers at the 9 EMA. Very strong price action on volume, showing institutions have been picking up shares as we got that gap and go and a trending situation. MACD's above its signal line and rising. Copart also bounced at the 21-day moving average. Didn't follow through on Friday, but this stock does have quite the reputation during the hurricane season to start picking up shares and moving higher, as we saw with Home Depot and Lowe's last week. Dexcom from previous watch lists continue to follow its 9 and 21 day very bullish action. RSI showing muscle, looking for a breakout this week on above average volume. MACD's above signal line and trending. Ensign Group, another IBD 50 stock that looks very strong off the 21-day moving average. Volume, MACD above its signal line, and RSI above 50 and rising. Etsy and Stitch Fix both moved higher last week. Etsy breaking out, looking very strong. Facebook, though it did start the week a little bit slower, it had gained some momentum into the week, Thursday and Friday, bouncing above the 21-day. Looking for Facebook to take out 216 and continue higher to 52-week highs. While Fortinet continues to move higher in the security industry group, this one gap and go a week and a half ago. This one popped up and continues to trend. RSI showing muscle, MACD above its signal line, and volume showing institutions have been very active. Franco-Nevada and many of the other gold stocks look very strong, trending along their bullish 9 and 21-day moving average, RSI rising, MACD above its signal line, volume increasing, showing that institutions are picking up shares, while we also have shares in Newmont Mining, looking for those to follow through as gold continues to move higher, while we also watch silver for a breakout. In addition to GoDaddy, which has been on the watch list for the last 6 weeks or so, off and on. This one continues to climb along its bullish 9 and 21-day moving average. Each time it pulls back to either one, eventually it gets bought on above average volume, showing that that's institutional activity. Looking for a breakout of what looks like a cup and handle pattern starting to form, a V-shaped recovery in this hosting provider, GoDaddy.com. CLAC and some of the semiconductors did show a little relative weakness on Friday on that Huawei block by the U.S. government. So we'll see how this plays out on Monday, Tuesday, and keeping an eye on all the semiconductors this week because Nvidia is reporting after the close on Thursday. Kirkland Lake Gold, we're looking for this gold stock to continue higher. In addition to IBD 50 stock MODN, Model N, this one looks really strong. Didn't quite get back to the 21-day or 200-day moving averages on Thursday, followed through on Friday. This is showing strength. Looks like a V-shape, but more of a cup and handle pattern. Here's the handle, a breakout above 34 would signal continuation on above average volume with MACD above its signal line and RSI rising. Most of the IBD 50 stocks that we like for this week are all showing very similar price action, as Netflix shows no exception. Looking for a follow-through, RSI above 50. We have volume and MACD's above its signal line and starting to turn going into this week. Healthcare stocks, anything with biosciences attached to it, seemed to do well last week. Looking for a follow-through, breakout on Friday, maybe Monday, Tuesday. This continues, and look for volume to increase. As previously mentioned, Nvidia has earnings this week, Thursday after the close. This is already breaking out, so I'm not really sure what to expect from this one. I don't really like stocks that are trading at all-time highs going into earnings because any hint of a negative comment could send this one 5-10% lower very easily. So be careful. I would only day trade this stock as volume shows institutions have been picking up shares going into earnings on Thursday. PayPal, one of the stronger looking payment processor group names that continues to look very strong. Gap and go on earnings, follow through. Volume, MACD above its signal line, and RSI showing muscle. Look for PayPal to continue this week. PetMed Express, PETS, PETS. This one's looking kind of interesting. It dipped below the 21-day. I don't usually like taking a long until the stock gets above the 21-day. But the reversal and hammer on Thursday gives me a sense that institutions really like what they see. I wouldn't be surprised to see pets back up through the highs along with Chewy, CHWY, another name in this group that's been showing relative strength at the 21-day moving average last week, with a strong finish Wednesday and Friday. Looking for RSI to continue with price action moving through 42.55 or so to start the week. Chewy looks pretty strong. Many of the stocks in this group look good. Looking for above average volume, MACD to cross over. This is probably going to carry us up to 48 to 50 very quickly in the next few days. More healthcare and pharmaceutical related names. Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, nice trend in the 9 and 21-day moving average. RSI above 50, MACD flat but starting to turn up. Volume increasing. Look for this stock to continue higher this week. And the same goes for ResMed, which held the 9 and 21-day Thursday, pushed above it on Friday. RSI is above 50. Like to see more volume and MACD stay above its signal line. And price following through on Monday and Tuesday. Perhaps taking out 171.66 in the short term. That would be resistance. So we got a nice 6-point move depending on how we open on Monday. ServiceNow, very similar price action. Instead of touching the 21-day, it's at the 9 EMA reversal Wednesday, Thursday. Closed above firmly on Friday on above average volume. Sprouts Farmers Market, this one is on from previous watch lists. Looking for this to follow through. Nice bullish 9 and 21-day moving average volume over the last few weeks, showing institutions have been picking up shares. Watch what happens on Monday. If it holds the 9 EMA and starts to reverse and move higher, that would be very bullish. I wouldn't mind taking a short-term swing on this one. Back up to 27, maybe 30 over the next few days. Taiwan Semiconductor, this one we thought was going to continue higher. It held the 200-day moving average on Thursday, dipped below it on Friday on that Huawei news. So depending on what this does on Monday, we might either stop out or look to add to a position if it moves higher on Monday and Tuesday. Trade Desk looking for a follow-through, very similar pattern, 9 and 21-day. Touches the 21-day reversal, follow-through on Friday. Many of these stocks look really strong, looking for a break above 327 in the next week or so if Trade Desk sees the bulls return on Monday, Tuesday. Toro below the 9 and 21-day, but very similar price action on above average volume. Look for this to get back above the 21-day for starters. If it does, look for a nice week. RSI should pop above 50 and signal a bullish week on Toro, TTC. TradeWeb, another technology-related name, following through, bounced at the 9 EMA, follow through on Friday, looking for more volume and a break to 52-week highs. Viva Systems, very good example of a stock that holds the 9 EMA, very strong trend, RSI above 50. Each time it comes back to the 9 EMA like it did on Thursday, it shows relative strength, and we see continuation days thereafter. So we're looking for the same thing on Viva this week, along with Vertex Pharmaceuticals, nice bullish engulfing candle on Friday, as we watch for workday to hold the 21-day, bounce maybe on Monday, Tuesday, while we finish up the IBD 50 with Zoom. Very surprising strength, reversing back above the 9 and 21-day this week. Looking for a follow-through, RSI above 50, MACD above signal line, and volume increasing. Zynex, ZYXI, nice reversal at the 21-day. Follow-through on Thursday into Friday on above average volume. So it looks like institutions are pretty active on this one for the last few weeks. Looking for this to break out and continue higher. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com on May the 17th, 2020 with your weekend video newsletter. Make sure you check out some of the names at the bottom of the list as well. MarketSmith, Growth 250, top volume percent gainers along the lower line, volume percent gainers in green. As many of these stocks look very strong, just check the list. We're looking for very similar Thursday, Friday reversals back above the 9 and 21-day for starters. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 11:30 on the East Coast, 8:30 on the West Coast, so make sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, have a great weekend. I hope this helps. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.